Okay guys, so now we're going to be factoring by grouping, and again, this is when you have an even number of terms. So the very first one is we're always going to pretty much always have 4 terms, so we're going to create a 2 by 2 box. So the things that actually super matter is that you have to have the first term in the top left box, and the last term always has to be in the bottom right box. Now with these, is you're going to factor out the GCF like we did previously, except you're going to do it for every row and then for every column. So then eventually you're going to get one answer, so you're going to have 2 answers on the left side and then 2 answers on the top. So then, after you do that, you're going to write your answers on the left side and the top inside 2 parentheses. Now the thing that has all these stars is super important. So it's the leading coefficient, so we know that a coefficient is a number in front of a variable, and leading is just if it comes first. So if the first coefficient is negative, you must factor out a negative. It might be a -1 or a -100, but it has to have a negative attached to it. So let's do the problems on the bottom. So number 3 says factor out x squared minus 8x plus x minus 8. So we know the first one has to go in the top left, and the last one has to go in the bottom right. Now the other ones don't matter. Between these last 2 boxes, I just go in order, so I do the next one with -8x and positive x. And it's always a good habit to attach your signs so you know if it's positive or negative. So I do the rows first. So the GCF that goes into x squared and -8x. Well, we know that there's a 1 in front of this one, so the biggest number that can possibly go into 1 and 8 is 1. And then again, we check for variables in common, so they both have x in common, and we look at the lowest exponent. So this one has 2, this one has 1, so the lowest one is 1. So the GCF of the first row is 1x. The next one, so again, we know there's a 1 there, so the GCF of 1 and 8 is 1, and they don't have any variables in common. So we know that's going to be a positive 1. So we're done with the rows. Now we're going to do the columns. The GCF of the first column, so the biggest number that can go in 1 and 1 is 1. Check to see if they have any variables in common. We have x squared and x. They have an x in common. The lowest exponent is this one, which is 1. Now, this is where it comes into play with leading coefficients. This one leads this column, so this has a negative. So we're going to bring up the negative. Now we just look at the numbers. What's the biggest number that can go in 8? And 8 is 8. Then this one has an x, this has no x's. So they have no x's in common. So now we have our 4 answers. So we're going to put our left side together, which is 1x plus 1, and our top, which is together, 1x minus 8. We know the other answer we could see is x plus 1 and x minus 8, because normally we don't put the 1 in front of the x. Now again, when we check ourselves with distribution up here, we're going to check ourselves with multiplication. So 1 times 1 is 1. X times x is x squared. 1 times 1 is 1. This has an x, which remains. So 1 times -8 is -8. This has an x, which is attached. And 1 times -8 is -8. So all 4 boxes check out. Moving on to number 4. So we're going to do it a little bit faster. So we know the first term and the last term. It does not matter where the other ones go. So I'm going to say a positive 4x and a positive 3x. Biggest number that goes into 4 and 4 is 4. They both have x in common. The lowest exponent is this one. Biggest number that goes in 3 and 3 is a positive 3. This has an x, but this one does not, so they do not have a variable in common. GCF of these. Now, if you look at a factor chart, 1 times 4 and 2 times 2, and then 3, the biggest number that can go into both of them is just the 1. So we're going to pull out a 1 and they have an x in common. Lowest exponent is this one. Again with this, we have a 4 and a 3. We know the biggest number that goes in both is 1. This has an x, but this one does not, so they do not share a variable. So we put our left side together and our top answers together. Go ahead and check. 4 times 1 is 4. X times x is x squared. 3 times 1 is 3. This one has an x. 4 times 1 is 4. This has an x. And 3 times 1 is 3. So they all check out. Okay, our next one, 5. First term, last term. Doesn't matter about the other one. Biggest number that goes in 8 and negative 64 is a positive 8. They also have an x in common. The lowest exponent is 1. Now, this one, we know that our answers go on the left side, so these two boxes lead. So this one is leading with a negative, so pulling out a negative for sure. Now, if it helps you, you can put a 1 here. The biggest number that goes in a 1 and 8 is 1, so we're actually taking out a negative 1. GCF of these two is a 1, and they have an x in common. Now, again, this one leads, so we're taking out a negative for sure. Now we just check. The biggest number that goes in a 64 and 8 is 8, so we're actually taking out a negative 8. We put our answers together. We got 8x minus 1 and x minus 8. You notice every time if we take out a 1x, I'm just writing an x, since we know the 1 is there. Okay, the next one. First term, last term. Doesn't matter about the other one. Now this first one, the biggest number that can go into 6 and 16 is 2. They both have an x in common, but this one's different than all the other ones. The lowest exponent is a 2. So we're actually taking out a 2x squared. Now the next one, the biggest number that can go into 21 and 56 is 7. Now we're going to do the columns. So the biggest number that can go into 6 and 21 is 3. They both share an x, but the lowest exponent is this one. This one has 3, but this one only has 1. So the lowest one we can use is x. Now this one leads with a negative. So bring up the negative. The biggest number that goes into 16 and 56 is 8. This has x squared, but this has no x's, so they don't have a variable in common. So we write our answers. We got 2x squared plus 7, 3x minus 8. So because this one was a little bit different, we can check. 2 times 3 is 6. X squared times an x gives you x cubed. 7 times 3 is 21, and this one has an x. 2 times negative 8 is negative 16. This has an x squared. And 7 times negative 8 is negative 56. So again, this still works. So that's exactly how we use the box method by factoring by grouping with an even number of terms.